75% recycled fiber, 79%. Oh, it's 100% recycled polyester.
Fashion, it seems, has never been greener.
Look, this is a pair of pants.
So why is so much of it still ending up here?
Made with at least 20% recycled content.
We're digging for the truth behind the eco-friendly trend.
What it's all building up to is wider smokescreen of greenwashing.
Taking on the biggest brands.
Not a single garment here could be recycled right away.
Asking, is going green going far enough? Only on your marketplace. We're hitting them all for some new threads. And we're looking for stuff that says it's better for the planet.
100% recycled polyester. Bottle to fashion. This product was responsibly made. So this is an Air Force Nature.
In no time, we spot some that sound really promising.
Here, this is a good one.
Recycled materials. Move to zero waste. Good for the earth.
Rainbow or just green this season? Green is in.
Supporting the creation of ecologically grown crops. Sustainability, it seems, is what some of Canada's biggest brands are selling.
Shell, 68% recycled polyester, 30% Liva Eco-Viscose. Lining, 100% recycled polyester. It's a lot of math on one jacket.
Some of the biggest names in fashion have gone green. Zara, Nike, Lululemon, The Gap, H&M. But have they gone far enough? We're about to find out.
So this is what's recycled, just the pocket?
Are retailers really taking our old clothes and making them new again? And with so much made from polyester, a material that's plastic, how green can they really be? The companies aren't subtle when selling us on sustainability. Just look at these hang tags, labels, and all these ads.
Turning trash into new products. Old water bottles, old clothes, old shoes. You know this story.
They talk about missions.
To reduce our impact and make it positive in the very near future.
With past promises and new commitments to do better for the environment. With less waste and better materials. All these brands talk net zero goals in the coming years. So we're taking our haul to London, Ontario's Western University.
Hello. Lovely to meet you.
Lovely to meet you.
Everyone else, Charlesy, hello.
To see if these green business buffs from Ivy's MBA program can make sense of what these clothes are claiming.
Usually with greenwashing, we're not talking about lies, but we're talking about these squishy gray area things that they can't quite be nailed down on, okay?
Professor Ren Montgomery teaches students to spot claims that seem suspect.
They do love to talk about totally irrelevant things, right? It's like gluten-free on things, and you're like, that's broccoli. Of course it's gluten-free, like, you know? Like.
Sustainability is selling. Brands are pushing it.
Today, we're taking over the class.
So these are jeans from Zara.
With a hang tag, the students can't quite seem to figure out.
Yeah, we got a bee, a tree, a seedling coming through, and water.
So now that you've read the tag, how do these jeans help the bees again?
That's a great question. So,
Yeah, this one made me laugh, definitely. So, you know, first of all, supporting the creation of ecologically grown crops. Aren't all crops ecologically grown?
Ecological?
Yeah, so it's just kind of a general statement.
Okay, I want to get to the shorts.
It says that just the pocket lining is recycled polyester and everything else is just like regular material. It's a really small part of this.
These flip-flops are made partially from renewable sugarcane plants that help reduce our use of fossil fuels and our carbon footprint.
sugarcane plants are renewable.
And how much fossil fuels are you using to move a product that's going to last a month and then you're going to replace them?
This is a Gap hang tag. And they're all Gap for good.
The globe sign and the recycling sign behind it.
All of these things are appealing to people. We want to do what's right for the environment, right? We may need to go out and buy a pair of jeans, but we're starting to understand the impact of that.
In London, England, George Harding Rolls knows the impact of fashion better than most. For years, he's been exposing some of fashion's biggest brands for failing to deliver on their green promises through a series of reports for the Changing Markets Foundation. We ask him to turn his critical eye to what we picked up here at home and have with us at the Textile Museum in Toronto.
We're awash in a sea of green claims that are incredibly difficult to decipher.
What do you think the message is that H&M is trying to give about buying these pants?
I think it's to kind of calm consumers' possible guilt about buying new clothing, help them to believe that they are doing a good thing by buying new clothes.
And take a look at this coat from The Gap.
This is 100% recycled poly. The website actually says you're buying this and it's better for the earth.
Oh my God.
Here's the thing, polyester predominantly comes from petroleum, oil, those fossil fuels the world desperately needs to cut back on.
It generally correlates that the more fast fashion-y a fashion brand is, the more reliant they are on polyester.
What is it that makes poly so attractive?
Versatility and cheapness, and therefore the more potential there is that they're going to greenwash with recycled polyester. There's just not enough accountability for the industry at the moment.
Polyester is plastic.
Yeah.
I don't know whether everybody knows that. It's just plastic that came out in a thin strand. It came out of something that looks like a nozzle from your shower.
Right.
And then it is woven or knitted into fabric.
And it comes from oil.
It comes from oil.
Linda Greer is famous among fashion insiders. She's the industry's go-to when it comes to sustainability. The accomplished scientist turned advocate says all that recycled polyester the big brands are pushing isn't going to save us. Because they're not making new clothes from old clothes at all. In fact, most are made from used plastic bottles.
Now, what we're doing in the apparel sector is we are taking those plastic bottles, chipping them up, melting them down, spinning them out, putting them in our clothing, and then when we're done, we're throwing the clothing away. So we broke the circular cycle of plastic recycling. We took a recycled item and we put it in a linear chain, and then that was the end of plastics recycling.
So we took something that could have been recycled
over and over again,
turned it into a shirt
that is its last
garbage.
dance.
While experts agree keeping plastic bottles out of landfill is a good thing, George sees it differently.
They're still making clothes out of plastic that at the end of life doesn't have an option to be recycled back into clothing again. It's the greenwashing issue around using plastic bottles. You'll see it emblazoned across all sorts of brands.
The world is producing too many clothes. So much of it is ending up here. Canadians generate about 500 million kilograms of textile waste every year. That's enough to fill about 15,000 trucks like that.
In an extreme example, take a look at this desert in Chile. A mountain of fashion waste, so big it can be seen from space.
Hi, Sabine.
Hello, Chelsea. Nice to meet you. Welcome at Seneca.
Thank you.
At Seneca College, Sabine Weber has made it her mission to make a dent in Canada's fashion waste mountain. With the help of her students, she's recovering clothes from landfill.
If we were to look at some of this stuff, what could be recycled?
Not a single garment here, which I have seen, could be recycled right away.
While some of the big brands say they are working towards textile-to-textile recycling, she says we're still a ways off.
And that takes time, right? That's not easy to do.
This is labor intensive.
Something like this, you'd have to take out the zipper, the clasps.
Yes.
Okay.
So there are two different fibers, two different materials. You have to separate them.
Oh, so something like this, you'd have to take this off.
Yes, then you have to take off the elastic.
Wow.
So recycling is a lot of work, very labor intensive, and you need to have the right technology.
It's so hard, even H&M's own machine, called The Loop, can only churn out one recycled garment every 5 hours.
The loop is recycling in front of your very own eyes.
While the company once called it a recycling system, H&M tells us it was only ever meant to show people used clothes have value.
This is really magic, huh?
Zara released a so-called capsule collection, taking scraps of fabric and making these new clothes. But only a few thousand pieces were made. They say it's an example of what might be possible when they scale up.
You know, I just get upset about those sorts of capsule collections. It's visible, and maybe it's good from the perspective of raising, customer appreciation.
In terms of impact?
In terms of impact, it's insignificant.
What is happening with respect to recycling and the textile industry? Are we doing that? Is anyone actually doing that?
We're still at the very, very earliest stages. This is an urgent problem. We got to get on it right away.
So just to be clear, no one is actually taking old clothes and turning them into new ones.
No one is doing clothing recycling at scale. Definitely.
Its slogan is just do it.
Picture the things we create benefiting the earth.
But we'll show you why this company's commitment to going green isn't so straightforward.
How close to nature are these shoes?
About as far away from nature as it's possible to get, I would say.
Get more Marketplace. Sign up for our weekly newsletter at cbc.ca/marketplace. This is your Marketplace.
53% recycled polyester.
We're looking into some of the country's big brands and the claims they make about sustainability.
Made with at least 20% recycled content. So that's the next nature, okay.
And there's one popular brand that's been bragging for years about its commitment to the environment. Nike, a company that reports using more synthetics than other big brands.
Picture the things we create benefiting the earth.
Ren Montgomery and her class have questions for Nike.
So the jersey
Move to zero. I don't know where they're starting to zero, so what's the start point for move to zero?
Right.
And then on top of that, it says that it helps reduce our carbon footprint by using recycled fibers, but again, the vagueness.
Move to Zero is Nike's journey toward zero carbon and zero waste to help protect the future of sport.
Lack of proof, it's very vague. Yeah, there's nothing really here. So we see a lot of greenwashing happening around net zero, so I'd definitely be a little concerned with this one.
We went to Nike and bought these Next Nature shoes. We also got this free stuff.
Oh wow, look at that.
So how close to nature are these shoes?
About as far away from nature as it's possible to get, I would say. Full of sleights of hands, marketing sleights of hands, very vague marketing terms, things that are meant to immediately disarm a consumer. What they're buying is a 100% fossil fuel derived shoe. And yeah, to make them think they're doing something good for the planet.
George's own deep dive on the company showed Nike uses the synthetics poly and rubber 38% more than the retailer in second place.
I've got this Nike one.
So first thing I want to ask you about, George, is the tag.
Yeah, it's a natural looking fibrous sort of eco tag, but then the item that it's attached to is 100% oil and gas, plastic, fossil fuel fashion.
It does say made with at least 75% recycled fibers, which reduces waste and our carbon footprint.
Yeah, I mean, it says very euphemistically recycled fibers, and it takes digging through the actual product itself to see that it's 100% polyester, so that is still, 100% plastic and made from recycled plastic bottles. It's a lot to process it, putting all the onus on customers.
They also have this little collection of swooshes that's sort of reminiscent to me of the recycling triangle. Do you see that beside Move to Zero?
The move to zero thing is pretty dodgy territory. Well, they say here it's their journey towards zero carbon and zero waste to help protect the future of sport. Like, what does that even mean? Your journey towards it. Where are you now? Where are you going to go in the future? What steps are you taking? How are you going to be accountable? And what are you going to look like when you get there?
Nike's claims led to a class action lawsuit accusing them of greenwashing. They dispute it.
We asked Nike about their Next to Nature and Move to Zero claims. They don't answer our questions. Instead, they direct us back to their websites.
What it's all building up to is this wider smokescreen of greenwashing. So we look at these companies making bold claims, move to zero, Gap for Good, H&M conscious, and we think, hey, these companies have it all down. Like, we just need companies to do more of the same of this, and we'll get ourselves out of any future crises. It's time for a wider call to change the rules of the game, to have proper accountability for fashion companies, and ultimately to make sustainability within the sector legally required.
No signs of accountability here. But earlier this year, the UK launched a greenwashing investigation, looking at some major fashion brands that it says could be misleading consumers with their claims. And even though we find this conscious collection tag everywhere at an H&M in Toronto, in the Netherlands, the tags were pulled after the regulator there found them to be greenwashing. H&M paid €500,000 in compensation.
H&M Group tells us they stand against greenwashing and they're phasing out those conscious collection tags. They also say they're hoping to shift their focus from reusing plastic bottles to textile recycling.
As for the other companies, The Gap says it might highlight credible and verifiable sustainability attributes for some of its stuff, and it has a rigorous approach to sustainability claims, but acknowledge there's still more to do.
In a statement, Zara says that within 10 years, they expect all their materials to be better for the planet, with a portion made from textile recycling. Lululemon tells us they're on a journey to make products that are better in every way. They recognize, though, there are some areas where they need to accelerate. They also say they're continuing to engage in industry collaborations to find solutions.
How can we be fashion forward? This next trend offers some food for thought.
So this used to be food, and soon it's going to be a fabric.
Got a story you think Marketplace should investigate? Reach out to us at marketplace@cbc.ca. This is your Marketplace.
We are here in Kitchener, Ontario, and we're about to meet up with a couple of very interesting entrepreneurs, and I brought them something a little bit unusual. They say they can help solve fashion's waste problem. And how are they doing it? Let's go see. So this used to be food, and soon it's going to be a fabric.
We have our enzymes and our microbes that are...
Myra Arshad and Avneet Gotra are BFFs from high school. Now, one specializes in bioplastics, and the other a businesswoman from a family of textile manufacturers.
Yeah, so we're Altex. We're a biomaterial startup.
Their technology is designed to make fabric from food waste, using fruit peels and veggies. Producing a polyamide, this white flaky material, to make plastic pellets.
And then that stuff can get spun into this yarn. It can get spun into a variety of configurations, which is then woven into the shirt that I'm wearing.
Myra's shirt, made of fruits and veg, but it's small scale for now.
It's a long way away from being able to make a whole run of shirts.
It's not going to start at fast fashion volumes.
Your technology, you could use it to make more plastic bottles. You could use it to make more plastic, right? Why do you guys want to make something that can specifically be used for clothes?
We don't need more plastic.
But if you still think you need something new to wear, sustainability scientist Linda Greer has some tips on how you can make your wardrobe work better for you and the planet.
It's very helpful to think about cost per wear instead of cost. So let's say you see a cheap dress, but truthfully, you know, I might wear this 3 times and then that's going to be it. You know, then that might not be the way to spend your money. We need to go back to the idea of timeless fashion, clothes that last, because the era of fast fashion is relatively young and it's eating us alive.